My name is Trevor Klee, and this is the reading comprehension process for main point questions. For those of you who don't know, I scored a 175 on my own LSAT. I've been tutoring LSAT for around 6 years, which you can find my website, trevorkleetutor.com. And I also sell books on the LSAT, including a book on reading comprehension called The Reading Comprehension Process, which you can find on my Gumroad page, gumroad.com/trevorklee. All right. So let's start off with some main point questions. So main point questions tend to be something that give people a lot of trouble on reading comprehension. Even good readers or fast readers find that they have trouble getting these questions right, especially as the passages get more difficult because they never really develop a process. So for today, I want to focus on a passage and show how I would use my process to answer a main point question. So let's start off with the process, first of all. So I start every reading comprehension passage the same way, by skimming. I want to get a basic idea of what the passage is about and how it's organized. So, in other words, basically, a couple sentences that might explain what the passage says and then what each paragraph says. Now, my preferred method for doing this is I read the first sentence of the paragraph to get the basic idea of what it's about, and the last sentence of the paragraph to see how it develops. Now, if you're a slow reader, I recommend you read only the first and last sentence. If you're a fast reader, you can just focus on the first and last sentence. Either way, make sure you're really picking those out. Don't just read this like you would read a novel where you're reading everything with the same emphasis. The first sentence tells you what it's about. Last sentence tells you what it develops. Everything in between is just commentary. Last, I tell all my students to focus on shifts in points of view. So you always have to think, what does the author think? What do the people mentioned think? Right? It's not necessarily the same thing. In fact, it frequently isn't. Frequently, the author says, this is what so-and-so thinks, and I disagree with them. Whenever they say stuff like that, you really have to pay attention. So that's the process. Skim by reading the first and last sentence, focus on shifts in point of view, and that should be enough to get you the main point. Now, that's easy to say in abstract, so let's take a look in the specific. So this is a passage that's from my LSAT book, The Reading Comprehension Process. So let's go through this passage together. Now, I'm going to pretend for a second like I'm a slow reader. So I'm only going to read the first and last sentence of each paragraph. And then you'll notice I develop a really short understanding of what the paragraph is about based on the first and last sentence. Here we go. So, in the United States, a comprehension discussion of what is and is not libel or slander is difficult because the definition differs between states. Some states, like Washington State, have criminal libel laws on the book, though these are old laws which are very infrequently prosecuted, if at all. So, really short explanation of what this paragraph is about. I'd say in the United States, it's difficult to define what is or isn't libel or slander between states. All right, second paragraph. What can be said, however, is that defamation law in the United States is much less plaintiff-friendly than its counterparts in European and Commonwealth countries, both due to the enforcement of the First Amendment and due to the specific defamation laws in the United States. This even extends to the extent that defamation on the internet can be sued in any country in which defamation is read. So based on this first sentence, I would say, generally speaking, this paragraph says, in general, right, defamation law in the United States is less plaintiff-friendly than its counterparts in European and Commonwealth countries. And we've got some elaboration here in talking about defamation on the internet. All right. There are further restrictions on the extent of defamation claims in the United States as well. This means that, in effect, there can be no liability for statements made by anonymous persons on the internet. So here we get a further elaboration on how defamation claims are restricted in the United States, and we're getting more specific examples, including apparently no liability for statements made by anonymous persons on the internet. Protection of defamatory statements in the United States also extend to the privileges that can get a defamation case dismissed without proceeding to trial. These privileges include the litigation privilege, which makes statements made in the context of litigation non-actionable, and defense of fair comment and criticism, which allows comment on matters of public interest. So here we've got further information on, extent of defamation claims, which is in this case privileges that can get defamation dismissed without proceeding to trial. And then last, we've got if a defamation claim goes to trial, plaintiff still has to overcome two major hurdles. As a result, few defamation cases end up in favor of the plaintiff, although the chilling effect of a threatened trial can prove to be an effective deterrent against adverse statements. So we've got even more hurdles when they go to trial, two major hurdles. And then at the end, of course, the plaintiff has a tough time of it. So if I look through all of this, I get this first paragraph, it tells it's tough to say what is or isn't slander between the states. We do know defamation's law not plaintiff friendly in the United States, according to the second paragraph. The third paragraph tells us there's restrictions on the extent of defamation claims. The fourth paragraph tells us there's various privileges that can get defamation cases dismissed without proceeding to trial. And then the last paragraph tells us that even when it goes to trial, the plaintiff still has to overcome two major hurdles. So overall, this seems pretty straightforward. Now, which of the following is the main point of the passage? Although the specific laws regarding libel and slander vary from state to state, United States laws on defamation in general are not plaintiff-friendly for a variety of reasons. Yes, that seems pretty clearly correct, right? B, the United States has varied and sometimes contradictory laws on libel and slander. That really only covers the first paragraph. It's not really addressing like everything else, about how they're not plaintiff friendly. C, United States laws on defamation in general are guided by the First Amendment, leading to defamation being difficult to prove in United States courts. This one I wouldn't, really go for. We're getting we're not really getting the idea of like the variety of reasons why they're difficult. This only mentions the First Amendment, which I don't see mentioned in every paragraph, so it can't be a main point thing. D, any discussion in the United States law on defamation needs to reckon with the extent to which the law favors the defendant. I'm not sure why we're suddenly talking about discussions of the law on defamation. We didn't really mention discussions anywhere in here, at least so far as I saw. E, it is unwise for any plaintiff to pursue a defamation case in the United States due to the high hurdles to win at court. No, so this would be an opinion, right? This would be like the author saying you should do this or you shouldn't do this, like a normative statement, which we really didn't see in any of our paragraphs. So that's why A is the correct answer. Okay, so this is how you would answer a main point question on the LSAT reading comprehension. If you want to see a bunch more passages, including every type of question that they ask on reading comprehension and every type of passage, you can check it out on my book, gumroad.com/Trevor Klee. Then, of course, if you're interested in learning more about the LSAT, including logical reasoning and logic games strategies, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.